Hi, I'm Steve, your neighborhood handyman, and I'm great at fixing holes, installing stuff, and generally keeping your house in tip-top shape. I also look great in a tool belt. Don't let my good looks distract you though. I take home maintenance seriously, and today I'd love to tell you about something that's really heating up the scene. I'm going to answer some common questions about heat pumps. Heat pumps are the newest and best way to heat and cool your home. Unfortunately, there's a lot of confusion about them right now, so I figured who better to answer them than the handiest and handsomest guy you know, me. In case you need other reinforcements to make the switch, I've invited some friends who've already installed them to tell us about their experience. Let's learn some handy information. A heat pump uses electricity to provide both heating and cooling to a building. These appliances are efficient at transferring heat from one place to another. Depending on the type of heat pump you install, they can draw heat from the air or the ground. In the winter, a heat pump provides heating by moving heat from outside a building and moving it inside. In the summer, it cools a house by moving heat from indoors to the outside. I know what you're thinking. Steve is super handsome and super smart. I'm just getting warmed up. Oh, hey there. Just like an AC system, there'll be an outdoor unit. So if you already have central air or heating ducts, you can just attach it to that. If you don't, that's also not a problem. You just have to take one small extra step of installing mini splits. The outdoor unit hooks up to one or more of these heads, placed on the walls or in the ceiling around your home. They're sort of like individual air vents. This can be a little more expensive, but is usually cheaper than adding ductwork. I'm gonna make deep eye contact for this because it's important. Of course it works. I wouldn't be pitching you on something that doesn't. In fact, it works better than most furnaces and air conditioners. That's because heat pumps are actually just moving existing heat instead of burning fuel, which is much more efficient.
Oh, he is handsome. We've had our heat pump for 2 years now. My biggest concern going into this is that Denver, as we know, can experience some extremes that a heat pump would not be able to go ahead and meet our energy needs. However, I saw a great article where up in the mountains they had installed a heat pump into one of the cabins. And then I was able to go ahead and see, just like my iPhone, heat pump technology has really improved, especially in the last 10 years. And that gave me the confidence to go forward with this being the right decision for our family.
Oh, sorry. I was just checking out this awesome mini split. You're darn right you can get away with just one system when you have a heat pump. And you may have heard you need backup heat. But I'm here to tell you that in Colorado, that's not always true. The right cold climate heat pump will work great on its own. Here's a neighbor to share how it's worked for her family.
Thanks, Steve. I decided to install a heat pump because the furnaces and air conditioners in our home were about 15 years old and they were approaching the end of their life. I really wanted to be able to replace them in a non-emergency situation so that we could control all of the details. And when we decided that we needed to replace the furnace and the air conditioner, a heat pump made a lot of good sense. We have a pretty large home. It's about 5,000 square feet, and we really didn't have any issues with it being cold. We also don't have a backup energy source. We just have a heat pump, and we weren't concerned at all during that cold snap.
Yep, even in extreme weather, up to -20, there's heat energy in the air, which means the heat pump will keep pulling heat inside. For a place like Colorado, it really is the best option. Let's hear from some friends whose heat pump kept them warm during a particularly fierce cold spell.
Okay, I love that question because that was one of the things that I was really worried about because in Colorado it can get really, really cold. And so I'm like, I didn't want to get this contraption that wasn't going to do what I needed it to do and keep my house warm. And this is the science teacher in me. That's what's amazing is like even when it's like 0 or -10 or -20, there's still heat in the air. So even when it's below 0, the heat pump can still find heat and energy to pull out of the air and bring into the house, which is super duper cool.
We've really stuck to the set it and forget it with our thermostat. On cold days or even hot days, we have our thermostat settings. And so when I wake up in the morning, even when it's 10 below, 20 below, I haven't noticed any changes in our indoor temperature.
My favorite part about having a heat pump is that I don't have to think about it. It's really not something that I want to be worrying about on a regular basis, and we installed it and it started running and it's been good to go ever since.
Yeah, that's the best part. Right now, with help from the Inflation Reduction Act, the government is covering some of the cost.
So in terms of incentives, we received a rebate from the City of Denver for $5,500 and a rebate from Xcel Energy for $2,200. We also received a federal tax credit for 2023 for $2,000, and then there was a state tax credit based on the cost of the equipment, which came out to about $1,500.
Energy bills are always a concern with, I think, any family or really any person. So when I've talked with friends and neighbors, we've compared, and I have to say, like, our energy bills are lower, and I contribute that a lot to not having to worry about the fluctuation in the natural gas prices. So that's one thing that I have less to worry about, and I can also prepare financially, having a better idea of what my energy bills are going to be month to month.
One thing that I'm super excited about is that I never really used to pay attention to like my utility bills because it was sort of always bad news. But now with the heat pump, I actually kind of almost I don't want to say looking forward to spending, to having to pay bills, but like I actually it's a little bit more exciting to be like, oh wow, look at this. Like every month I could be like, oh wow, I saved this much, I saved this much, I saved this much. And I actually just recently learned that when I file my taxes this year, I'm going to get a $2,000 discount back, which is fantastic news.
Click on this video or the post below to learn all about the incentives from my friends at Mountain Mamas.